Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be looking at upgrading some Explorer decks with the new inclusions from Explorer Anthologies. Number one, so we got a bunch of cards that fit into existing Pioneer decks, so we're getting closer to direct Pioneer ports. So we're looking at the common ones. We'll build some new decks later this week, but these are just kind of how to upgrade existing decks videos. So we've done one for Mono Blue Spirits, we've done one for Rakdos Midrange, and today we're going to be looking at Mono Green Ramp. So there's kind of, in and of itself, that we have the mono green ramp, and then we have the mono green kind of collected company stompy decks, and both are going to get a big upgrade with Elvish Mystic, 1 mana, 1/1 that taps for green. We now have between Mystic and Llanowar Elves 8 1-mana accelerants, so we can basically forget 2 mana spells. We are going 2 mana to 3 mana, really good with like Steel Leaf Champion, Old Growth Drill, and the deck we're going to be looking at today is the mono green Karn ramp deck. So Arboreal Grazer is a placeholder right now because we don't have the Mystic on the client that's coming out tomorrow, and we also don't have Sylvan Caryatid, so we're playing Paradise Druid, scuffed Caryatid. But the core of this deck, we really want to be able to go turn 1, play a 1-drop accelerant, turn 2, play like Territorial Stomper, big chunky one, or Kiora, get some utility there. And then turn 3, either go like Karn, or depending on how you kind of accelerate, go into like Cavalier of Thorns or Nissa, kind of get some utility there. Still missing Oath of Nissa. That's why we're seeing the Pioneer versions -1 Nissa, minus the 3 Stompers for Oath of Nissas, getting the value out of it that way. Seen some versions play Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh because of Oath of Nissa, you can cast it. But the deck itself, what we're trying to do is ramp. You have Karn, which kind of pulls the deck together. You generate a whole bunch of mana, and then there's a Karn Wishboard that you could kind of play. Notably, you can do an infinite combo with Cauldron to gain infinite life. So with this card here, so how it works is the backside of Restorative Burst. So you search up Pestilent Cauldron. Because it's an artifact. If you have a Karn and a Kiora in the graveyard, you get to cast Restorative Burst. It goes into exile, and then with Karn, you can fetch it back out of exile. You could generate like 15 mana, you kind of go wild. Notably, it's a lot easier to pull this off in Pioneer, where you have Nykthos. Nykthos was one of the exclusions, so that's the biggest card missing from this deck. So while we can generate good amounts of mana, we're not like, haha, Kiora, untap, untap, untap. I have 72 trillion mana. But this is just the deck playing big chunky top end stuff. You have Storm the Festival that gets a bunch of these threats and kind of go from there. The Karn, you have a lot of kind of silver bullety stuff. So I'm going to feature what's sideboardable and then what's kind of more tutorable. Against blue-white control, you have Shifting Ceratops, or any of like the mono blue spirits decks. This deck has a pretty bad spirits matchup, but Ceratops tries to hedge that. We also have Voracious Hydra as a card that could come in the creature matchups to fight a bit. We also have Questing Beast that comes in blue-white control deck. We're getting Darksteel Citadel, which is the indestructible artifact land, so that should come into play instead of Treasure Vault. This is basically serving as a land in your sideboard that Karn can tutor when you're in a pinch for a land drop. But if we look at the cards in the sideboard, we have kind of our wish board. So you have Tormod's Crypt comes in, and it's a single time graveyard hate that you can play on turn 3 or 4 and exile the graveyard. You also have Unlicensed Hearths, which is continued graveyard. So think of it, well, my opponent's going to combo me with Greasefang, need it now. Or there's going to be a grindy game, let's take a card here and there. They're not going to kill me one shot, kind of go from that value. Pithing Needle can be named a bunch of things. Creature lands, it could be named Witch's Oven. It could be named Planeswalkers. A whole bunch of things you can name with that. You have Skyship Sovereign. It is kind of removal that's tutorable, and then Karn can animate it, so you don't even need to crew it. God Pharaoh Statue versus like just a good taxing card if, you know, against decks that are playing a bunch of cheap stuff, kind of tax their mana. Even against control, it's just forcing them to pay a lot more mana for things. Meteor Golem's a catch-all removal spell. Shadow Sphere for the aggro matchups, gives you trample and lifelink. Golos for the grindier matchups. You can search for the Cascading Cataracts, which lets you get any color of mana. And then You also have the Great Henge for the grindier matchups again, lifelink, stuff like that. So that's pretty much the deck. For the Stompy version, you're really just playing like Steel Leaf Champion, you're playing Old Growth Troll, you're playing Scavenging Ooze, you're playing Werewolf Pack Leader, Collected Company, you're playing Ronus, kind of all in that. So you can now really just always consistently go, like Pelk Collector is pretty trash. This lets you go, I'd much rather play on turn 2 on the play, here's my 5/4, your 2 power creatures can't block me. Turn 3, here's my Collected Company, now I've put 9 to 10 more power into the board, good games. So that's another kind of shell that we can look at with the addition. There's also like a Gruul version of the deck that's been going around Pioneer. So you basically play your 8 1-drops in terms of Llanowar Elf. Then you go Reflections of Kiki, you go Bone Crusher Giant, and then you go Domri 3. So you go this Domri, Anarcha Bolus, and then you go 5-drops. So you could play it as an Abosh list if you want. Your 5-drops are Gargaroth as well as Glorybringer. So you just have like, you know, potentially turn 3 Gargaroth or Glorybringer, thanks going like Elf, Domri, 5-drop. So kind of a cool shell like that. There's also Champion. Not Champion. Exert. Combat Celebrant. So there's a version with the Kikis that you make copies and then they untap and then you basically get infinite combat steps. So kind of a cool thing like that. So kind of different shells that we can try out in Gruul as well. Just the ability to always go turn 1 and then turn 2 3-drop is really going to enhance these types of decks. So in any case, going to wrap this up. Let me know what other decks you'd like to see, what deck you're most excited with the new format, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.